Welcome back to Chasing Combat. I'll be going over who you should pick this weekend for Song versus Figgy. Last week we went 9 for 13. Overall, we did have a pretty solid card. Cavalcanti, that one definitely does sting, but overall, we definitely did have a very solid card. That brings us to 60% pick rate on the year, and our overall pick rate down to 62. We are going down a little bit on our pick rate, but it will go right back up within the next couple weeks. Start off with Loma. Loma is predominantly a striker. She has a kickboxing style. Overall, she's kick and clinch heavy. She's going to use her teeps to keep her opponent at bay. She is going to use her distance very well. Usually, when she does get taken down, she's just going to lay on her back. She's not going to do too much. When she does try to get up, that's when she gives away her back, which is usually more than 75% of the time. Her notable wins are Bruna Brazil, Elise Reed, and Denise Gomez, where she did look very solid against them, but in her last fight, she did look pretty solid as well. Did have some moments where she didn't look the best, but overall, she should have a pretty good matchup in this fight. Jacqueline is a grappler. She is going to look to get that takedown and dominate you from there. She doesn't really want to strike with you too much. She's not really interested in that. More interested in getting right to her game. She's very dangerous on the ground. All 4 of her UFC wins have been due to her grappling. She is coming off a loss. Did get beat pretty badly on the feet in her last fight, which is a little concerning, especially coming in against another striker. Overall, she should have a pretty good matchup here, just due to Loma not really liking the wrestling and overall being a turtle on her back. Jacqueline, she didn't look the best her last fight, but overall, she should find some success in this fight. Overall, I'm going to have to go with Jacqueline by finish. It will be by sub. I do think she will get that rear naked choke. She is a little too good on the ground, especially for a girl like Loma, and when she gives up her back like that, especially trying to get up and you give up your back, Jacqueline will take advantage of that. She's going to snatch up that choke within 5 seconds, easily get that choke in, get it real tight, and make her opponent tap. Kangji Zhu is a knockout artist. Overall, he is a very patient technical striker. He's going to take his time and he's going to find that KO shot. Does stand around a little too much. He's a little too patient. He's picking the flowers, picking the grass, however you want to say it. He will blitz at his opponents randomly, which has that surprise factor, but it also means he can be very exposed when he rushes in. He has pretty good takedown defense, really good sprawls. He can do it all. He wants to stay on the feet though. He wants to look for that knockout shot, and he looks to piece his opponents up and pick them apart. Overall, he will hunt that takedown, and he is going to try and pressure his opponents from the start of the fight. He is going to hunt for that KO, and he is going to look to dominate his opponents from start to finish. Rodrigo Vera. Vera's a relentless wrestler who's willing to strike, but he is going to attack that takedown for at least a minute or two if you allow him to get to your hips. Overall, he is a pretty boring fighter. On the feet, he's very fidgety. He likes to move around a lot. He's going to try to create space, create opportunities for himself on the feet, but overall, he is going to keep attacking that takedown. Doesn't matter if he barely has that single leg, he's going to stay on the single leg, the double leg, whatever he has, until his opponent either escapes or he gets that takedown. Even if he does get that takedown, he's not going to stop there. He's going to keep trying to get in a dominant position. If you do get up, he's going to get back at that takedown. He will even stay there for the whole fight pretty much. If you let him stay on your hips for the whole round, he doesn't mind staying there. Overall, he does want to wrestle. Does have some good combos. He is pretty fast on the feet, but overall, I just don't think he sets up his combos well enough, and I do think he is at a disadvantage in the striking here. Kangji Zhu by KO will be the pick. I think he'll be able to take advantage of his speed and overall his power advantage here. I do think Vera is in a good spot here to win this fight, but I just don't think he'll be able to get the takedowns, and the takedowns just won't be there. I think Vera will tire out by the second round, and then he's going to get knocked out by Zhu. Zhu's just going to pick him apart for the first round, keep defending the takedowns, gas Vera out a little bit just by relentlessly going for takedowns. He's going to keep doing damage to him, and overall, he's going to dominate to a win. I do think he will get that KO in round 2. It should be a flatline KO. I don't see him getting a TKO or anything against a guy like Vera. I think Vera fades very fast as well, and I do think he will fade by the second round, and Zhu will take advantage of that. Angela Hill is a UFC vet. She has very solid striking. She has solid wrestling, but overall, she strives with the striking. She has had some difficulties in her last couple fights, just getting going and getting herself established on the feet. Overall, she will probably try to go for the takedown here, especially against a girl like Jing Yang, who will go for that KO finish. Hill, she is a decision fighter. She is looking to grind you out for all 3 rounds, whether that's striking with you in the first round, clinching with you in the second, maybe in wrestling with you in the third. She will mix it up. She's not just going to strike with you. Even though her striking is pretty solid and she can win fights alone with her striking, she is going to mix in the wrestling. She will try to wrestle with you due to being so experienced. She knows how to win fights. She knows what to do to get that win. Overall, she is a very solid fighter and she is a UFC veteran, so she knows what it takes to get the win. Yin Yang, she is a very good kickboxer. Overall, Yin Yang is going to go for that KO. She's not really going to look for takedowns, submissions, or anything like that unless he'll shoot a takedown and the opportunity presents itself. Yin Yang is going to go for that KO from the start of the fight to the end. She has really good striking and she's going to use that to her advantage, especially against an aging Angela Hill. Angela Hill is 41, Yin Yang is 38, very close in age, but overall Yin Yang looks to be in younger shape, you could say. She looks to be the younger fighter. She looks faster, definitely stronger, and overall has the striking advantage. If Angela Hill is going to win this fight, it has to be by wrestling and it has to be by submission. Do I think she will do that? No. Yin Yang should get the KO in round 1 or 2, maybe even a decision. I have her winning a decision though. I think Angela Hill will be a little too tough and her power will be very noticeable here in this fight, but I just don't think Angela Hill is going to go out with a fight, especially in most likely her last fight. Ray Tsuruya versus Louis Gurel. Tsuruya is a dominant wrestler who usually dominates most of his opponents with the wrestling. He's going to keep shooting a takedown until he gets that takedown. He will strike with you a little bit. He is pretty fast, but overall, his striking isn't as good as his wrestling. He usually has his hands down and his head exposed when he is striking. Overall, he does need some work with his striking. He has been out close to a year, so his striking definitely could have improved, but do not bank on that. If he doesn't get you down to the ground, he's not as dangerous, and he's pretty one-dimensional. He's not really going to do much to you on the feet if he starts panic wrestling. Overall, you will get a little desperate if he can't get the takedowns. He might throw some spinning elbows, spinning back fist, whatever it may be. He's just going to look for anything to get him back in the fight. Like I said though, he has been out for close to a year, so his striking definitely could have improved, especially going against a guy like Joshua Van, who dominated him, and I do think Ray Tsuruya is definitely going to look to get back on the win column here. Louis Gurel, a solid all-around fighter. He has solid striking, not bad power, good wrestler, but he is a slow starter. He will pick his shots well. He's had a rough start to his UFC career, going 0-3. He is coming off a win to Daniel Barez, where everybody really chose Barez. Not too many people picked Louis. I had Louis winning that because I think he is a very solid fighter. He's very tough, very durable. Overall, I think Louis can get picked apart a little too easily at times just due to not letting his hands go. But in his last fight, he did look really good. I have Ray Tsuruya winning by submission in this fight. I think Ray Tsuruya is just going to be a little too good on the ground for him, and I do think he will get that rear naked choke. He does favor the rear naked choke a little bit. He also almost did get a twister on Carlos Hernandez, I believe is his last name, where he almost finished that. I do think he's very talented on the ground. His BJJ is definitely elite in this division, and I do think he could pretty much go for any submission that he would want. So we got Cody Haddon, and we got this other guy. I'm not really sure how to say his name, and I don't really want to butcher it, but we'll start with this other guy right over here. Overall, he is going to be a striker. He will want to stay on the feet. He is coming off a 21-second KO against Cody Gibson. He is coming off a 21-second KO win against Cody Gibson. He has solid KO power, does leave his chin open. Overall, he is pretty solid. He has 4 wins in the UFC, 2 KOs, 2 decisions. When he loses, it has been by KO once and decision 3 times. Overall, he is a pretty solid fighter. He is pretty tough, but he is a get finished or he's going to lose a decision type of fighter. I also do think he does stand a good chance in this fight, but at the same time, I just think due to his bad striking defense and his willingness to brawl a little bit will be his downfall, especially in this fight. Cody Haddon is primarily a striker. He is going to look to make the fight a very bloody fight. He wants to make it a dog fight. He wants entertaining fights. He doesn't want to go out there and be boring. No matter what, Haddon is going to show up this Saturday. Haddon's going to go out there and either piece him up, shoot a takedown, dominate him on the ground. He's not afraid to mix in the wrestling, mix in the grappling, because he knows what it takes to win. He wants to be a top prospect in the UFC, and I do think he will get there one day. He just needs to worry about his recovery and overall his health just due to him being so likely to getting injured. I believe he broke his foot twice already. Haddon's going to come out, walk his opponent right down, keep piecing him up, shoot that takedown, and overall look to dominate his opponent. Overall, he's a solid fighter that knows what he has to do to win. No matter what, Haddon should easily win a decision here. I think he'll make it pretty bloody. I'll cut up his opponent a little bit and grind out a win. We got Meng Ding versus Jose Enrique, a KO artist versus a tall, dangerous striker. Meng Ding is a power puncher. He's going to look to land big shots in exchange with his opponent. Ding used a lot of level changes and fades in his last fight, and I'm assuming he's going to do it in this fight, especially facing a guy who's a little taller than him and has the reach advantage. He loves to clinch. He's going to look to land knees and elbows. He's going to look to close the distance, especially against a guy like Jose, who's a lot taller. Not a lot taller, but taller, and it is going to be noticeable, especially with the reach advantage. Jose Enrique, very crafty striker with a nasty left hook. He's going to use everything he has. Elbows, knees, wild punches, 3 punches combos, you name it, he's going to throw it. He's a very talented prospect, but I do think he lacks the experience in this matchup. In his last couple fights, he has shown some inexperience just with some combos he was throwing and the way he would go to finish some of these guys. You could definitely tell he's pretty inexperienced. He's not really too worried about taking shots back, which is definitely concerning, especially against getting to that UFC level where a lot of these guys are very tough and all they need is to land that one wild shot. I do think he does have good KO power though, so he does stand a good chance in this fight if you were going to pick him. I have Meng Ding by KO. I think he'll be able to land that shot early enough and just wobble him. Jose Enrique, definitely a solid fighter. I do think he has some promise, but overall, I'm going to go with Meng Ding just with the experience and the KO power. Luis Felipe Diaz versus Yisak Lee. We got a submission artist and we got a very dangerous, well-rounded fighter. Diaz is primarily a striker. He sets up smart traps, lets his opponent fall right into them. Overall, he's going to look to strike with his opponent at the start, going to set that trap, make sure he's going to let his opponent think he just wants to strike, let his opponent go for some takedowns, defend those, and at the perfect moment, he will go for his takedown of his own. He has good wrestling, solid takedown defense. Overall, he's solid enough to where he can compete against majority of the guys in the UFC, but overall, he does have some issues. His cardio is pretty lackluster. He does fade pretty fast. By the second round, he's going to look pretty gassed. He does tend to swing very wildly at times, especially going past that first round. If he doesn't get that finish in the first round, he's going to start swinging wildly. He's going to be very fatigued. That's when his opponents start to take advantage. Yisak Lee has a judo background. He's going to look to get this fight to the ground just like Diaz wants to. Once he gets that takedown he's looking for, he's either going to go for a submission or he's going to hit you with some vicious ground and pound. Overall, he is a solid prospect. I do think this is a little rough matchup for him, especially as a UFC debut, but I do think Lee isn't as ready for the UFC like Lewis is. I think Lewis is good. I think Lewis is good enough to where he can hold his own and make some fights competitive. Doesn't mean he'll win them, but I think he'll look somewhat UFC level compared to a Yisak Lee, where I think he needs maybe another year of development or just a year of good fights. Either that's the UFC facing some lower level guys or in a promotion like One Championship, PFL, or a promotion like that. I think Luis Felipe Diaz will win this fight by rear naked choke. Luis has some wild striking at time, but I do think that allows for his opponents to start pressuring him more. Once he starts swinging a little wildly, it'll allow his opponents to come right back at him, hit him with a combo, and then that's when I think Diaz will shoot that takedown and go for that rear naked choke. Alex Perez versus Sumu Darji. So we got very good wrestler versus a very good striker. Alex Perez is a solid striker with high level wrestling. Perez is coming off a KO win against Charles Johnson. He's faced a lot of high level fighters recently like Asu, Charles Johnson, Tatsu Taira. He hasn't really beaten guys who have that solid wrestling and have that good enough wrestling to compete with the high level wrestlers in the division. Perez definitely has improved his striking. It has looked a lot better, and the power is definitely noticeable in his hands now. Before, he was more of a wrestler who was known for pretty mid striking and no really power. Now he's gotten that power, and he is a problem in this division. Perez has faced some of the best in this division, and he's been in the UFC for a long time. Sumu Darji, a striker who doesn't really want to wrestle. He has good wrestling defense. He has good takedown defense, but overall, his wrestling is pretty solid, but he just doesn't really want to use it. He wants to stay on the feet, strike with you, because that's where he can do the most damage. Sumu Darji coming off a win against Jesus Aguilar, where Jesus just couldn't close the distance. Sumu Darji really took advantage of his reach and his height and just picked him apart. Very good striker. He looks to use basic combos to keep his opponents at bay and earn respect from them. Even if it's a jab cross, it doesn't matter. He will throw it just to get some respect out of his opponents. You would think a skinny guy like Sumu Darji doesn't have power, but he does have some pretty good power. Overall, Sumijarji is going to look to keep his distance from his opponent and try to get that KO. I believe Sumijarji is in for a long night. I believe Alex Perez will get this rear naked choke on Sumijarji, just due to Sumijarji doesn't really succeed against wrestlers. When he goes against strikers, that's where he really succeeds. But against a guy like Alex Perez, who's faced the best of the best, I think he's going to go in there and get that submission. Jake Matthews versus Carlson Harris. This fight is a pretty one-sided fight. Jake Matthews has good striking, good BJJ, solid wrestling. Overall, when Jake Matthews fights, he has a game plan and he sticks to it. Even if he's not finding success with, for example, if he chooses to go wrestling, no success with the wrestling, doesn't matter. He's gonna keep wrestling. For some reason, Jake Matthews is very stubborn and only decides to do one thing per fight, whether that's wrestle, striking, or grapple. I think Matthews is due for a masterclass here. He's due for a good win. Is it a good win on his record? Maybe not, but Carlson Harris is tough. Carlson Harris is an experienced veteran in the world of MMA. He has only had 7 fights in the UFC, but he's been fighting since 2011. Carlson, very fidgety fighter, lots of movement, keeps his distance. His hands are moving about 80% of the time. He will switch from moving his hands a lot to having his hands in a closed guard. Like, he's going to be guarding his head, but then he'll switch it up again. He'll move his hands again, and then boom, right back to the guard. He's there to kind of play mind games a little bit. He's going to get in your head, and he knows how to do it. Overall, this fight should be a pretty straightforward fight. Jake Matthews can either submit him, knock him out, or even win a decision. I wouldn't put it past Jake Matthews to go to decision with Carlson Harris due to Carlson Harris being so tough. Harris does have some power himself, but I'm going to go with Jake Matthews being overall way better, younger, and he should easily win this fight by KO. But don't put it past this fight that this fight could go to the distance. There's a lot of fights in the UFC that you think, oh, easy KO. No, those are the fights that usually go to decision or go to the 3rd round. I think Jake Matthews should get the easy 1st round KO here, but don't be surprised if he doesn't. Kaya Sakura versus Cameron Smotherman. Kaya Sakura's coming in a huge favorite here, and I'm not really seeing it. He's faced Pantoja, got dominated by him. The only success he had was a flying knee, and then he lost to Tim Elliott, where he had 0 success. Tim Elliott went out there with no plan, doing random things with his hands and his feet, just doing random stuff, and beat Kaya Sakura. A guy who pretty much just had to train, didn't have to really work on much, went in there, did whatever he wanted, did whatever came to the top of his head, and just started moving his hands around wildly, doing random stuff, and beat a high-level striker. Sakura's a kickboxer, very high-level kickboxer at that. He has solid power. His wrestling defense is okay, but overall, once he gets to the ground, he's going to pretty much stay there. Kai's going to look to keep his distance. He's going to wait for that KO shot. He will have some solid combos, but overall, he's not going to pressure Cameron Smotherman too much. He's going to be pretty cautious, I think, especially going 0-2 in the UFC so far. Cameron Smotherman, all-around fighter, usually sticks to striking, and then he's going to mix in the wrestling later on in the fight. Overall, I believe Cameron Smotherman has what it takes to beat a Kai Asakura. Cameron Smotherman has the wrestling, has the striking, and has the grappling to beat a Kai Asakura. I'm not sure why Kai is such a big favorite and Smotherman's like a 300 to 400 underdog, especially 1-2 in the UFC, and he has faced some pretty solid fighters and better fighters than a Kai Asakura. I think Cameron Smotherman gets it done by decision. Overall, Cameron Smotherman should have his way in this fight, and it should be a pretty easy fight for him. I do think Kai wins a round or 2, but I think Smotherman will win round 1 and 3 to win a 29-28 unanimous decision. All right into the big boy fight. So we got Sergey Pavlovich, a dangerous KO artist, versus Taliesin Teixeira, who's a BJJ black belt. Not sure how credible that is, though. Let's start with Taliesin. Taliesin's a kickboxer with a BJJ black belt. Like I said, don't know how credible that is. Overall, he's a solid fighter. He looked like a pretty good prospect, but in his last fight, he didn't look good against Tuivasa. He looked horrible, to be honest. He gassed out pretty fast. He was gassed by the 2nd round. KO power wasn't really noticeable. It was a pretty much layup fight for him, and he fumbled the ball. You could have even gave Tuivasa that fight. Sergey, though, KO artist, gonna look to pressure you, look to get in your face. He will take his time with it. He's going to hunt that KO. He's going to pick his shots well. Overall, once you open up a little bit, he sees that hole, then that's when he's going to explode, hit you with that overhand right, and knock you out. I have Pavlovich by KO. I think Taliesin just isn't built for this division, and I just don't think he is UFC level right now. I think with some good development in the future, he could be a solid fighter, but overall, I don't think he will get past a Sergey. Mingyang Zhang versus Alonzo Menifield. Zhang is a power puncher. He's going to look to pick his shots, and he's going to hunt that KO. He has shown some promise, but he recently lost his hype train just due to losing to Johnny Walker by KO. That definitely did hurt his hype train a little bit, but definitely doesn't mean he sucks or anything like that. Johnny Walker is a good fighter, but he has a bad chin. I believe Zhang had what O'Malley happened to him. His leg just stopped working. I think Walker's hit him in that right spot, boom, hit that right nerve and shut down his leg. I believe Zhang should come out here, win a dominant finish. He should have a dominant finish here. Zhang should get the finish here against Menifield by KO if he was to win. Menifield is 38. He is aging. He's 10-6-1 in the UFC. Definitely on a downhill trend for Menifield, but overall he definitely is still a solid fighter. He has the KO power. He can go decision if he needs to, and he has the submission ability. Menifield overall a very solid fighter, but the big thing I'm concerned with Alonzo is his cardio and his chin. Both of them have seemed pretty iffy in the past. Menifield's been knocked out, I believe, 4 times, twice in the first round and twice in the second round. Mingyang Zhang gets his KOs either in the first or second round, which definitely benefits Mingyang Zhang here. I do have Mingyang Zhang by KO just due to Menifield's chin and cardio. I think even if Menifield can get Zhang to the ground, he will fade at some point. Zhang should have a pretty easy win here, and hopefully gets that KO pretty early and gets us into the next fight. Song Yadong versus Davidson Figueiredo. This is the fight we've all been waiting for. Song Yadong, only 28, has good striking, good wrestling. He's gonna pressure his opponents the whole fight. He's always going to keep coming forward. He's always looking to strike with you, and he will mix in the takedowns when he has to. He's not just gonna keep striking with you the whole time. He's gonna try to dominate you. He's gonna try to cement that round for himself. He's not just gonna coast with the striking. He really wants to get that win. Overall, he is a solid fighter. He has solid power and is very explosive. He is coming off a loss to Sean O'Malley, which isn't a bad loss at all, just due to O'Malley having probably the best striking in the bantamweight division, if not the best top 3. I think Figueiredo here is a very solid fighter, but the age is catching up to him. He has solid striking, high level BJJ and wrestling. His scrambles are good as well. Overall, Figgy has been looking a little slow in his last couple fights, just looking a step behind, but he did beat a Montel Jackson, who is a pretty good striker, but his wrestling just isn't there. Figgy showed levels there, but Figgy definitely can only compete with these one-dimensional guys like a Montel Jackson, who aren't known for their good wrestling or aren't known for good grappling or anything like that. He can beat these strikers or just wrestlers, beat these one-dimensional fighters easily, but when you have a guy like Song Yadong who's 28, 22-9, and he's very explosive, he has the good wrestling, and he knows what he's doing everywhere, it's going to be a rough night for Figgy. I have Song Yadong by KO. I think it should be a pretty easy fight. Song has the explosiveness, has the power, and is fast enough to end this fight within the first 2 rounds. Let's get right into the lock of the card. So I got Zhang moneyline, Haddon moneyline, and Pavlovich moneyline for a plus 118. Take this if you want, or if you want to go with my risky bet, go with Cameron Smotherman as an underdog. I think that is a really good spot, especially when you have all these guys coming from other promotions and not doing good. The only person who has done good from other promotions would be the Ukrainian guy who just beat Yoel Alvarez, and maybe Patricio Pitbull and now Aaron Pico, but they all did start off their career with a loss, so that's what I'm following. I don't think Kaya Sakura is that good anyways. I think Cameron Smotherman is kind of built for the UFC. I think he'll be a journeyman. If you do have confidence, you could go with Zhang by finish and Pavlovich by finish, both by KO. If they are going to get a finish, it will be by KO. Or you could do the double chance on Zhao and Pavlovich by KO or decision, would be another good bet as well. That'll be the end of the video. Hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday for Bilal versus Bonfim.